The first time Ethan Cole heard the word trash spoken like a verdict, it wasn't shouted. It was said softly, over candlelight, crystal glasses, and a dinner table so polished it reflected the ceiling chandelier like a second sky. Honestly, Veronica Blackwood said with a calm, practiced smile, I don't understand why my daughter insists on bringing trash into our family. The room didn't go silent because it already was. Everyone at the table had been trained by money to speak only when it benefited them. Ethan felt his throat tighten, not because he couldn't respond, but because his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, was sitting beside him with her hands folded, trying so hard to look grown up in her little white dress. Lily didn't fully understand the insult. But she understood the tone. She looked up at Ethan with those big, hopeful eyes that had survived too much for a child so young. And Ethan did what he had done his entire life. He swallowed the pain. He smiled. And he kept his voice steady. Thank you for inviting us, he said, nodding politely. Veronica's daughter, Samantha Blackwood, stiffened in her chair. Her cheeks turned pink, her fingers tightening around her fork. Ethan could feel her anger like heat across the table, but she didn't explode. She didn't defend him with loud words. Instead, Samantha reached under the table and squeezed Ethan's hand. It was a small gesture. But it said everything. I'm here. I'm not ashamed of you. Don't break. And Ethan didn't. Not in front of Lily. Not in front of the woman he loved. Not in front of the people who believed they were born above him. But deep inside, something cracked. Not his confidence. Not his dignity. Something else. A promise. Ethan hadn't planned on meeting Samantha Blackwood. He hadn't planned on falling in love at all. His life didn't have space for romance, not after what happened. Years ago, Ethan had been the kind of man people ignored in grocery store lines. The kind of man whose shoes looked a little too worn, whose hands carried the stubborn roughness of honest work. He was a single father who packed lunches at dawn, worked 2 jobs, and still found time to braid his daughter's hair while watching cartoons on a tiny couch in a tiny apartment. Lily was his entire world. And she was also the reason he never let himself become bitter. Because Lily deserved softness. Even if Ethan had to bleed to give it to her. Lily's mother had left when Lily was barely 2, no note, no apology, just a sudden emptiness that Ethan filled with love and exhaustion. He didn't talk about it much, because Lily didn't need that weight. All Lily needed was her father. And Ethan never failed her. Not once. So when Samantha entered his life, it wasn't like some fairy tale. It was real, messy, unexpected. It began at Lily's school fundraiser where Ethan was helping set up folding chairs, his sleeves rolled up, sweat on his forehead, and his attention on making sure Lily felt proud. Samantha had arrived late, wearing a simple navy dress, hair pulled back, no jewelry screaming wealth, no entourage. She didn't look like the kind of woman who belonged in magazines. She looked like the kind of woman who was tired of pretending. She offered to help, and Ethan assumed she was just another parent. He handed her a box of decorations. Can you take these to the gym? He asked. She blinked. Sure. And she did. No complaints. No, do you know who I am? No attitude. Later, when Lily ran up and hugged Ethan, Samantha watched with a softness Ethan hadn't seen in years. She loves you, Samantha said quietly. Ethan smiled. She's my miracle. Samantha hesitated. You're doing this alone. Ethan didn't like pity, so he answered plainly. Yeah, but I'm not alone. I have her. That sentence stayed with Samantha. Like a song. Over the next few months, they kept crossing paths, school meetings, bake sales, library events. Samantha always seemed to gravitate toward Ethan, like she was searching for something she couldn't name. Eventually, she admitted the truth one evening after everyone had left the playground. My mother thinks love is a business contract, Samantha said, watching Lily chase butterflies. Ethan laughed softly. That sounds exhausting. Samantha looked at him then. Really looked. I think you're the first man I've met who doesn't want anything from me. Ethan swallowed. Maybe I just like who you are. Samantha's eyes shimmered, and in that moment Ethan realized something terrifying. He didn't just like her. He needed her. Not like a lifeline. Like a home. But homes don't come without storms. The day Veronica Blackwood discovered Samantha was dating Ethan, she didn't yell. She didn't scream. She didn't insult him directly. She did something far worse. She laughed. It was the kind of laugh that said, this is a phase. This is embarrassing. This will end. And when Samantha didn't end it, Veronica escalated. She sent investigators. She dug into Ethan's past. She tried to find dirt. But all she found was a man who had lived quietly, worked hard, and raised a child with love. So she did what powerful people do when they can't destroy someone with truth. She used influence. Ethan's landlord suddenly needed the apartment back. Ethan's second job no longer had funding. His car got towed for unpaid tickets he'd never received. One after another, life started squeezing him like a fist. Ethan knew exactly who was behind it. But he didn't tell Samantha. Because Ethan was the kind of man who carried pain privately. Because he was afraid, deep down, that Samantha would feel guilty and leave. And because he was a father first. His priority was Lily. Not pride, not revenge, not romance. Still, Samantha noticed. She noticed the shadows under his eyes. She noticed his forced smiles. She noticed the way he hesitated before paying for things. One night, after Lily fell asleep, Samantha sat beside Ethan on his couch and took his hands. "You're struggling," she said softly. Ethan tried to joke. "I've been struggling since the day I was born." Samantha's voice hardened with love. "Ethan." He looked away. And Samantha whispered, "Is it my mother?" Ethan's silence was an answer. Samantha's eyes filled. "I'm so sorry." Ethan finally broke. Not with tears, but with honesty. "She called me trash," he said. In front of Lily. Samantha covered her mouth, her face twisting with pain. Ethan continued, voice quiet. "I've been called worse. But not in front of my daughter." Samantha leaned forward, pressing her forehead to his. "I'm not letting her hurt you," she whispered. "Not ever." Ethan wanted to believe her. But Veronica Blackwood wasn't just a mother with opinions. She was a billionaire in the making. A woman who controlled companies, boards, reputations. A woman who could ruin lives with a phone call. And Ethan. Ethan was just a single dad with worn shoes and a heart too soft for war. Then came the dinner invitation. Veronica's house looked like a palace. A gate taller than Ethan's entire apartment building. A driveway so long it felt like entering another world. Lily had been excited. "Daddy," she whispered in the car, "is this where princesses live?" Ethan smiled and kissed her forehead. "Maybe." Inside, the staff moved like ghosts, quiet, efficient, invisible. Veronica greeted them with a smile that never reached her eyes. Samantha looked tense, but she tried. She wanted peace. She wanted her mother to see Ethan for who he was. Veronica wanted control. Dinner began politely. Questions about Lily's school. Compliments about her manners. Then, Veronica turned to Ethan like a judge ready to sentence. "So," she said, swirling her wine, "tell me, what do you do?" Ethan answered calmly. "I run logistics for a distribution company. I also do part-time consulting." Veronica tilted her head. "Consulting." Ethan nodded. "Yes." Veronica smiled wider. "And you think that makes you worthy of my daughter?" Samantha snapped. "Mom." Veronica raised her hand. "No, Samantha. Let him speak." Ethan looked at Lily. Lily was staring at her plate, suddenly quiet. Ethan turned back. "I don't think in terms of worthy," Ethan said. "I love Samantha. And I love my daughter. I'm not here to impress you." Veronica's eyes narrowed. "Oh, you're not here to impress me," she repeated slowly. "How noble." Then she leaned back and delivered the insult like a casual observation. "I simply don't understand why my daughter insists on bringing trash into our family." Samantha stood up so fast her chair screeched. "That's enough." Samantha shouted. But Ethan stayed seated. Not because he was weak. Because Lily was watching. And Lily needed to learn something. Ethan reached for Lily's hand. Lily looked up at him with trembling lips. "Daddy, are we trash?" That question, so innocent, so heartbreaking, hit Ethan harder than Veronica's insult ever could. Ethan swallowed the ache and smiled gently. "No, baby," he said. "We're not trash. We're survivors." He kissed her knuckles. Then he looked at Veronica, and his voice was steady. "Thank you for dinner," he said. "But we're leaving." Samantha rushed to follow. Veronica called out coldly, "If you walk out, Samantha, you'll regret it." Samantha turned back, tears blazing in her eyes. "I already regret growing up in your house," she said. Then she walked out with Ethan and Lily. That night, Ethan didn't sleep. Not because he was angry. Because Lily cried. In the back seat on the way home, Lily tried to be brave. But once they reached the apartment, she broke down. "I was good," she sobbed. "I ate nicely. Why didn't she like us?" Ethan held her, rocking her like she was still a toddler. "Some people," he whispered, "don't know how to see hearts. They only see money." Lily sniffled. "But you have a heart, Daddy." Ethan closed his eyes, fighting tears. "Yes," he whispered. "And so do you." When Lily finally fell asleep, Ethan sat alone in the dark living room. Samantha sat beside him, her mascara streaked from crying. "I'm sorry," she whispered again. "I'm so sorry." Ethan stared at his hands. I've spent my whole life being looked down on, he said. But tonight, my daughter felt it. Samantha's voice trembled. I'll cut her off. I don't care. Ethan turned to her, surprised. Samantha, I mean it, she said fiercely. I'd rather be broke with you than rich with her poison. Ethan felt his chest tighten. Because Samantha didn't know the truth. Not the full truth. Ethan wasn't just a logistics manager. He wasn't just a part-time consultant. Years ago, when Ethan was barely 22, he had created a supply chain software system that optimized routes for small businesses. It was brilliant, but Ethan didn't have money to scale it. He sold the patent quietly to pay for Lily's medical bills when she was a baby and had a dangerous infection. That decision saved Lily's life. But it also cost Ethan a fortune. Or so everyone thought. What no one knew was that Ethan had kept one small thing. A minority stake. A meaningless share in the company that bought his software. A company that had since grown into a quiet giant, feeding logistics algorithms to major corporations. And Ethan had spent years learning, investing, studying, building connections under the radar. Not for greed, for security, for Lily. Ethan didn't flaunt wealth because he didn't care about looking powerful. He cared about being prepared. And tonight, for the first time in years, Ethan didn't want security. He wanted justice. Not revenge for himself, but protection for his daughter. He looked at Samantha. Do you trust me? He asked. Samantha blinked. With my life. Ethan stood up. Then go to sleep, he said. Tomorrow will be different. Samantha stared at him. Ethan, what are you going to do? Ethan walked to the window and looked out at the city lights. His reflection stared back, tired eyes, strong shoulders, a man who had been underestimated his whole life. He whispered the words like a vow. I'm going to make sure she never calls my daughter trash again. At 2:13 a.m., Ethan made a phone call. Not to scream, not to threaten, to move pieces. A calm voice answered. Mr. Cole. Ethan didn't bother with small talk. I want to buy Blackwood Industries. There was a pause. Then a low chuckle. That's ambitious. Ethan's voice stayed even. I'm not asking if it's easy. I'm asking what it takes. The voice shifted, serious now. Blackwood Industries isn't just big. It's tangled in debt, inflated valuation, and fragile investor confidence. If someone pushes hard enough. Ethan stared at the city. Push, he said. By sunrise, Ethan had assembled a team. Lawyers, analysts, investors who owed him favors. People who had seen Ethan's mind before and knew he wasn't a man who spoke without certainty. While Veronica Blackwood slept in her mansion, Ethan sat in a conference room in a plain hoodie with coffee stains on the sleeve, signing papers that moved millions like chess pieces. The team laid it out. Blackwood Industries was strong on the surface, but vulnerable underneath. Veronica's empire relied on one thing, reputation. If investors panicked, the whole tower would wobble. Ethan didn't spread lies. He didn't fabricate scandals. He didn't destroy her with dirt. He destroyed her with truth. Truth about the debt. Truth about the over-leveraged acquisitions. Truth about the fragile cash flow. Ethan made one offer after another, quietly buying shares. Not loudly, not publicly, just steadily, like a tide. Veronica didn't notice at first. She was too busy thinking she had won. Too busy imagining Samantha crawling back. Too busy believing Ethan would disappear like a bad dream. But by afternoon, her assistant burst into her office pale-faced. Mrs. Blackwood, someone is buying large portions of our stock. Veronica scoffed. Who? The assistant swallowed. We don't know yet. It's being done through multiple holdings. Veronica's eyes narrowed. Find out. By evening, Veronica's board demanded an emergency meeting. By night, Veronica's empire was shaking. And by midnight, Veronica got the answer she never expected. The buyer wasn't a rival billionaire. It wasn't an overseas conglomerate. It wasn't a hostile corporation. It was the man she had called trash. Ethan Cole. The next day, Ethan walked into Blackwood Industries headquarters. The lobby was all marble and ego. Executives stared as he entered, not in a suit, but in a clean black shirt and a calm expression. A receptionist stood quickly. Sir, do you have an appointment? Ethan smiled politely. No, he said, but I own the building. The receptionist froze. Behind him, Samantha stepped in, eyes steady, posture proud. And the room shifted. Because Samantha Blackwood wasn't walking behind Ethan like a princess. She was walking beside him like a partner. They rode the elevator to the top floor. Veronica was waiting in the boardroom, her face pale with fury. This is a joke, she snapped. This can't be real. Ethan placed a folder on the table. It's real, he said. I have controlling interest. Veronica's voice shook. You? How? Ethan leaned forward slightly, not aggressive, just firm. You called me trash, he said. And I could have lived with that. His eyes hardened. But you looked at my daughter like she was less than human. Veronica's lips parted. For the first time, she didn't have words. Ethan opened the folder. Your board has voted, he said. You're removed as CEO effective immediately. Veronica stood up so fast her chair toppled. You can't do this. I built this. Ethan nodded. You built it, he agreed. But you poisoned it. Samantha spoke then, voice quiet but cutting. You taught me that love was weakness, she said. But you were wrong. Love is strength. Ethan is strength. Veronica turned on her daughter. You'd betray your own mother for him. Samantha's eyes filled, but her voice stayed steady. No, she whispered. I'm saving myself from you. Veronica's gaze flickered to Ethan, desperate now. What do you want? She demanded. Money. Status. Revenge. Ethan was silent for a moment. Then he said, an apology. Veronica blinked, stunned. Ethan pointed toward the glass wall overlooking the city. Not to me, he said. To Lily. Veronica's jaw tightened. Ethan's voice lowered. If you can't do that, he said, then you can leave this building with your pride and nothing else. Veronica stared at him. A woman who had controlled rooms with a smile now looked like a statue cracking. Finally, she whispered, where is she? That evening, Veronica Blackwood walked into Ethan's small apartment. The mansion queen stepping into a modest living room. Lily sat on the couch holding her stuffed rabbit, eyes wide. Ethan sat beside her. Samantha stood behind them, hands clasped, nervous. Veronica's gaze fell on Lily. For the first time, she saw what she had ignored. Not trash. Not inconvenience. A child. A child with a gentle heart. Veronica's throat tightened. She cleared it, as if emotion was something stuck in her. Then she lowered herself slowly, awkwardly, onto her knees in front of Lily. Lily shrank back a little. Ethan placed a calming hand on her shoulder. Veronica spoke, voice rough. I said something cruel, she whispered. And I was wrong. Lily blinked. Why did you say it? Veronica swallowed. Because I was afraid, she admitted. I thought, if I controlled everything, I'd never be hurt. Lily's voice was small. But you hurt me. Veronica's eyes shimmered. Yes, she whispered. And I'm sorry. Lily stared at her for a long moment. Then she asked the most innocent question in the world. Are you going to be nice now? Veronica nodded, tears finally escaping. Yes, she whispered. I'm going to try. Lily hesitated. Then she leaned forward and hugged Veronica, briefly, carefully, like a child testing if someone is safe. Veronica froze. Then she hugged back like she had forgotten how. Ethan watched, his chest aching. Not with hatred, with relief. Because this was what he truly wanted. Not to crush Veronica. To stop the cycle. To make sure Lily grew up believing she was enough. Weeks passed. The world learned that Ethan Cole now controlled Blackwood Industries. News outlets called it a stunning takeover. Business analysts called it unprecedented. But Lily called it something simpler. My daddy stood up for me. Ethan didn't fire employees. He didn't strip the company for parts. He improved it. He built ethical policies. He introduced scholarships for single parents. He created programs for workers who had been ignored. Because Ethan didn't become powerful to become cruel. He became powerful to become fair. And Veronica, she didn't disappear, but she changed. Not overnight, not magically, but slowly, like a woman learning that love is not a threat. One afternoon, Veronica visited Lily's school recital. She sat in the back row, quiet. When Lily spotted her, she waved. Veronica waved back, awkward, uncertain, but genuine. Ethan watched from the side. Samantha stepped beside him, slipping her hand into his. You did it, she whispered. Ethan shook his head gently. No, he said. We did. Samantha smiled. What are you thinking? She asked. Ethan looked at Lily on stage, singing with bright eyes and a fearless smile. I'm thinking, he said softly, that the world tried to make her feel small, and she still shines. Samantha leaned her head on his shoulder. And you? She asked. What about you? Ethan exhaled, the weight of years leaving his chest. I spent my life thinking I was less, he admitted. Tonight I realize, I was never trash. Samantha whispered, you were always treasure. And that became the message Ethan carried into every room after that. People will judge you by your clothes, your bank account, your address, your title. They'll label you before they learn your story. But your worth was never something they could give you. And it was never something they could take.